rappers and producers. Welcome to the second episode of the Curtis King Podcast. I'm your host, Curtis King. Let's talk today about having doubts within your music. Rappers and producers, once again, thank you for joining me on the Curtis King Podcast. For those of you that are listening on YouTube, you're probably like, wait a minute, Curtis, you didn't even let us know about this podcast. Yes, we're on second episode of the Curtis King Podcast, and we have fully rebranded what you have known as the Curspiration. We have rebranded that to the Curtis King Podcast, and I couldn't be more excited about the journey we're getting ready to go on. Today, I want to talk to you about the doubts that all of us as creatives deal with when releasing new music, new products, new content, new artwork, whatever the case may be. It seems that it goes across the board, these doubts that we feel. So actually, I got a question in my email that was posed as, what would you do? And I'm going to leave her name out of it, but I want to say thank you to her for actually sending this question, because I can tell it came from a real place and she's a real great person. And I've had a consultation with her before, but here's the question as it is. It says, if you were in this situation, Curtis, what would you do? I have doubts about putting out a song. This is why I have doubts. I feel like in certain aspects, it's a dip of standard in comparison to my previous work. But then again, I honestly like the song. And I feel like there will be other people who would appreciate it too. But I'm scared the people that do actually listen and anticipate my music would be somewhat disappointed. The people I've sent it to, my circle of pre-listeners, have very mixed reviews. Music makers and primarily music listeners. No one has called it a bad song, but no one has called it an amazing song or applauded me for growth. However, the song I want to release after this, my circle of pre-listeners do applaud its growth. Actually, let me reread that. However, the song I want to release after this, my circle of pre-listeners do applaud its growth and do applaud the work done. So I'm thinking it's not a bad idea to put this out first and then follow it up with the better record. Second, but it's a risk, and I am not entirely sure I should be taking such a risk. I am not entirely sure that this is healthy for my career, but I feel it's healthy for my growth as an artist to learn and strategize on how to make following records better. Would you put out the song, or would you just keep it to yourself and release the better record, quote unquote, better record? I'd love to know what you think. Hope to hear from you soon. Now, I actually responded back to this within the email, and I kind of want to paraphrase the stuff that I said because I feel like I gave her some really great gems to work with. But let's assess the situation. This is what I like to do, especially in my consultations. I like to make sure I repeat back the issues at hand so that we're addressing the topic and not just ranting and going in. So basically, there are doubts about this new song that she wants to release because it is not representative of the work that she has put in before, other songs, and she's already tested the songs on new listeners, or her close circle of listeners. She's given some pre-listens, and the reviews have been, not great and not bad. They've been sort of just lukewarm. So she's in a place where there's a lot of insecurity existing in this release, and she's partly afraid because, let's be honest with you, anytime that insecurity or anytime that stress comes in, we are fearful of something. That's something that I learned from Tony Robbins. It's linked to fear. So there's a fear that possibly she won't be enough for this audience that she's worked so hard to cultivate and bring together. That's a really common issue that a lot of us have, is that we always want to put our best foot forward. We don't want to drop off the momentum that we have built. But when you really break it down, momentum is really a feeling. Momentum is something that we can't really grab a hold of. Momentum is something that we, once again, make up in our brain. Shout out to DJ Head. There's many things that we have sort of adapted in our everyday vernacular that makes us believe that we're losing control, or, things like having a buzz, or, just momentum in general. We have these terms that really make us feel this way, and it's unfair to our growth. It's unfair to our process. Now, to paraphrase, I actually want to read something that I was going over in this new Gary Vee book, Crushing It. It's been a remarkable read. It's that bright yellow book. I'm sure you've seen it in Barnes & Noble. But I want to point you to something that I actually shared with my wife, because, she's feeling a bit of insecurity when it comes to launching her YouTube channel, or our YouTube channel. You got mean people out there. You got folks who are very finicky, but I try to remind her that you're not doing this for the finicky. You're doing this for the diehards. And this applies to all rappers, producers. This applies to creatives of all kind that are listening to this podcast right now. This applies to you as well. Now, the quote that I want to read, first of all, from Crushing It. Gary Vee is one of my favorite guys when it comes to marketing and just general advice. I think he, of course, he has a personality that can be very polarizing for some, but I think it's the kick in the butt we all need sometimes. So Gary Vee says this: put your stuff out in public, so you have to live it up. Put your stuff out in public, so you have to live up to it. As long as it's valuable and you know it's true, don't judge it. Let the market show you whether you're good or not. There's always something new, and the only way to win is if it's your truth. Just produce, become that personality, and own it. I'm also going to take a little quote that I actually highlighted within this book. And he says, we can earn people's respect and loyalty when we let them see us up close and dirty. And I think this applies heavily right now to the individual that sent me this particular email, because that fear is real, but you got to look at that fear as an opportunity. You got to look at this situation as, if I properly document this fear, because when you think about our imaginations run wild. What we have in our brains of what the results of, releasing something that we've worked so hard for, or something that's really a stretch from what we're normally doing. When we release something like that, the imagination that we have creates these crazy stories, these crazy, comments that don't even exist. Right? I remember Gary Busey actually said one time, he said, fear is false evidence appearing real. He made an acronym: false evidence appearing real. And I think in a lot of ways, this is what every creative goes through at some point in time. Now, the advice that I gave to her, I told her, I said, look at this as an opportunity. You should absolutely release that song. There should be no doubt in your mind you're releasing this song. Right? Because if you feel that way, that lets you know, one, that you're growing. And the fact that you kind of want to release this, it shows that there's something in you that sees some potential for people to see you in another light. I think that's a grand opportunity. Now, something else that Gary Vee points out in his book, Crushing It, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase it, is that he wishes he would have documented more of his come up. Right? He wishes he would have had more video footage of the first time that he was putting together certain ideas. And when he had his wine library, he's talking about putting together certain things. And he wishes that he would have documented that, because how valuable would that have been to his current day audience? How valuable would that have been to him to have something to judge his growth from? I always use the example of a plane. I always learned that a plane does not fly. I learned this from Professor Morgan, that genius professor that I spoke to you about before in the last episode. But planes literally fly off course on purpose. So if you want to think about a plane flying from one destination to the other, most people would think that success for a plane is flying in a straight line from LA straight to New York. Let's just use that example. But in all actuality, if these planes travel upon the line, they cannot see how on or off they are on the line. So they purposely fall off of this line so that they can look and then reorganize where they're at. And then once they reorganize it, recoordinate, they know how off they were off the mark. And I think that when we release songs like this, songs that really put us in a place of just fear, it's an amazing feeling, because you're alive. One thing that I always try to press forward on people's minds is that there will be a day that you will not be here anymore. And all that you will have is what you left behind. And you have no idea. I told her, you have no idea how impactful this song could be. You have no idea what this can mean to somebody. You have no idea what this song, which you think is, possibly your experimental time where you're not at the prime that you want to be, you may have an opportunity where this gets you some kind of TV placement that wouldn't have been available with your original music that you consider your best music. Opportunities happen like that. I got to take it back even to Prince. Prince did not like When Doves Cry. If you really read back into autobiographies, he could not stand When Doves Cry. And look at the success of that song. Now, I'm not telling you got to When Doves Cry. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying for every artist, every rapper and producer. And I do want to bring the producers in because I think it's the same thing when we making beats. When we create beats, especially when we have a hot seller, we get so excited and we say, oh man, I got to follow this up with something powerful. I got to get another banger done. And then you end up trying to follow that formula so much that you end up falling short. And then you have intense insecurity in what do I produce next? That didn't work. But here's the thing about it. There's value in releasing that, especially in 2008. We live in an era now where people have the opportunity. I'll give you an example. Chance the Rapper put up years ago, he put up on his SoundCloud, he said, this is a rough draft of a song I was working on. Isn't it beautiful we live in a time where we could do that? Think about Kanye West when he was releasing multiple versions of Wolves. He was basically editing and creating an art piece right before our eyes and ears. It's brilliant. And it's beautiful that we can experience that nowadays. So once again, I told her, I said, look, you must document this. You must take advantage of these feelings. And you know what? Share these feelings. I told her to actually share them within a vlog episode. Create a vlog. You could even create a documentary around one song nowadays, especially with the quality of cameras. I told her document it. I said, if you document the feelings that you have about this, not only will it relate to people who have, relation to the actual song concept, because I haven't even heard the song, but the song concept, but they may relate to the fact that here she is taking a chance on something that she's so scared to release to the public. And it's an amazing opportunity. I know it may not sound like that, and you may think I'm crazy about thinking it like that. But when you flip your language, you flip your action. You flip your perspective. And so as I'm talking to her, I'm reminding her, look, there will come a day one day, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years from now, when you'll look back at this time period that you were so scared. You'll be so glad that you documented it. You'll be so glad that there's video evidence of how you felt. Because what if the song is massively successful? For whatever that means for you, what if it's massively successful? Wouldn't you like to have had some of that video footage? I watched the Catfish documentary the other day, and I'm so glad they captured that, especially seeing the overwhelming success, the probably out of his imagination success that Neve from that show has today with the show Catfish. If people don't know, some people don't know, it's actually a documentary that came out in 2010 where he got catfished. And because of that painful experience, you can see the pain all over his face. He now had some documented proof about the passion that led him to his multi-million-dollar idea. I think there's a lot of power in that. And I'm so glad that he documented that. And this is why I'm encouraging her. She said, I don't know if vlogging is my style, but maybe I'll take some things from there. And I'm, if I had her in front of me right now, I would shake her and I remind her, look, you need to document this. Document those feelings. Even document the lukewarm responses from people. Because when that song comes out, where no matter what it does, you had an opportunity to share something beyond just your music. Because nowadays, it's more than the music. You can't just give people the music. That's not enough. People need a lot more than just the music. They want to know you. They got access to what you're eating when they sign into Snapchat. They got access to what time of the day you go work out at the gym. What books are you reading? What music do you listen to aside from your own music? People are so close to your lives that you cannot ignore them. So that being said, embrace this opportunity. And I encourage any rapper and producer that has doubts about putting out a song, doubts about putting out a beat, whatever it is for you, you've got to put it out. You've got to put it out because you just don't know what can happen. Good or bad. I mean, if it's bad, take it down. That's the beautiful thing about the internet. You can just digitally delete it. It never happened. But even then, I don't suggest that. There's songs that make me cringe when I listen to today, but I'm glad they exist because they show people, they show an audience, they show a new fan. God, this person has longevity in this. They're actually a master at what they do. I see the growth. People love to be a part of the growth. So use this as a grand opportunity to share with them the insecurities that you're feeling, and I guarantee you they're going to feel more close than they've ever felt to your music and you as an individual. This has been the second episode of the Curtis King Podcast. Thank you for checking it out. I appreciate you listening to it. For those of you that have any questions that you would like to direct for future podcast episodes, please, you can either send me an email to curtisking@gmail.com, or you can go to what is going to be changed from the Curspiration suggestion box, but go to curtiskingbeats.com. It still says Curspiration suggestion box. Go ahead in there, leave a question that you want me to address, and I will address that as soon as possible. So, creatives, don't be afraid. This is your art. Show all aspects of your art, build that loyalty, and build trust. You will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. Curtis King at curtiskingbeats.com. Please stay tuned for a word from our sponsor. Rappers and producers, are you in need of some consultation, some one-on-one coaching? I suggest that you go over to curtiskingbeats.com and click on the one-on-one coaching tab. As rappers and producers, we all have dreams we want to accomplish, but we can't do it alone. Many of us have a very specific vision of how our dreams look. The music industry can often be a scary, unpredictable, and confusing place when we lose sight of our goals. I understood very early in my career that not everyone in this business will understand or even care about your vision. As a music producer, I wanted to learn how to make real money from my beats. And as a rapper, I wanted to learn how to build a fan base and monetize my music. I worked on these goals for 6 years until I found a mentor that helped me make everything a reality. My name is Curtis King, and I am a rapper and a producer that has made a full-time living in music for many years now. I wake up every morning to the career of my dreams, and I owe it to my mentors. Now I would like to be your mentor. Sign up for a one-on-one consultation at curtiskingbeats.com or one-on-one with curtisking.com.